Welcome to the chaos sector. Well, we stand corrected, sort of. I say sort of, because the camera that we knew had to be somewhere in the front of the gas station was not visible in our examination. The images we presented were from Google Maps. From those images, it appeared to be emergency bells for the alarm system. A so-called true crime investigator physically visited the gas station. You all should know who that is by now. In his trip to the gas station, he got close enough to reveal the camera. Now, what does this mean? It only makes things worse. In fact, it puts even more suspicion on the clerk at the gas station. There is a camera in the front of the store, so she would not claim she didn't know which direction the vehicle went. Can't escape the chaos. If you examined hours of surveillance, surely you didn't just examine the rear camera. Of course not. As mentioned, this surveillance footage was not released to the local news. If she provided a screenshot, why didn't she provide several screenshots? You know, such as from the front camera? I wonder what that surveillance would reveal to the public, right? It would show a white vehicle making a right onto Troy Avenue and heads down the highway. But this would be around 3:45 a.m., and the reports claim the murders took place approximately at 4:15 to 4:30 a.m. So which vehicle is this? It seems to be the vehicle we suggested, the Elm Street Hyundai Elantra. The path was broken down in the previous episode. Keep everything in the previous episode, and slap a camera on the front of the gas station. Why was it so hard for them to release surveillance of a vehicle linked to those murders? It's not graphic, it's not violating anyone's privacy, it's a freaking link to the murders. This was before the investigation went into quote, integrity of the investigation, mode. With that being said, we also have to include the hidden surveillance from that front camera with the list of evidence Moscow PD is guarding closely. In addition, this specific viewpoint of the vehicle has never been reported to exist. Once again, the clerk claimed she didn't know which direction the vehicle went. All we obtained was a screenshot of a side view, which would be a camera on the side of the building. This justifies her statement, to the brain dead. But since we knew there was a camera, just couldn't spot it, and now we have, with a real-time view of it, we know the clerk was lying. Why deceive the public about which direction the vehicle went? I think it's obvious to why. Some have claimed that Emma's parents stayed in the home that was blurred out. Even suggested the home is up for sale. Well, if we go with this unofficial proof, then we simply apply our theory from the previous episode once more. Emma stayed in that home, the Elm Street Hyundai Elantra rushed to her home, tried to figure out what to do, then headed towards the gas station, via White Avenue, seen by the camera on the side of the building, but then also seen by the camera in the front, which showed them making a right onto Troy Avenue, then proceeding to the highway. This would be at 3:45 a.m. There are 3 locations heading north on the highway. Traveling out of town, Moscow Police Department, and returning back to Elm Street, where the victims' sorority houses are. I think we've cracked the case, just a few details are still floating around. If Emma's parents stayed on Ridge Road, well, you can put everything together at that point. And there are claims her father was a big-time dope dealer? Kohberger would have balls of steel to creep into that home, without knowing what could possibly unfold. It's not even worth breaking down anymore.
But let's address the timeline of events. If anyone recalls, there were specific times that were reported about the alleged Kohberger's path to and from the home. Let's focus on number 3, as this is when the alleged Kohberger was in the neighborhood. There is a time frame of 3:29 a.m. to 4:20 a.m. Quote, the Hyundai Elantra makes 3 initial passes by the 1122 King Road residence, leaving via Valenta Drive. It returns a 4th time at 4:04 a.m., first driving eastbound on King Road. It leaves the area at 4:20 a.m., traveling at a high rate of speed. Unquote. Now mind you, it says, Kohberger's alleged travel on day of Moscow murders. So, you don't know for sure? And the biggest question, how would you know Kohberger exited on Valenta Drive, from King Road? The only camera we are aware of in that area, is the neighbor's camera. If there's another camera, why was, you know what, I see what my colleague is saying here. It's really pointless to keep doing this, but, we have to. There isn't a camera at Taylor and King Road, so how would you know Kohberger turned onto Valenta Drive, heading westbound from Taylor to Valenta? The 3 initial passes by the home have to be captured by the neighbor's camera, right? But this would mean Kohberger had to turn around 3 times. Yes, he had to turn around multiple times to head down Valenta Drive, come back, and do that again and again. That is a lot of suspicious driving, and since this was during a time frame where there was still activity in the neighborhood, wouldn't someone think Kohberger's driving around was suspicious? Of course. Also, it doesn't specify which path back to the home Kohberger took. Which street did he return from? Taylor? Valenta? If he exits the neighborhood on Valenta, did he turn around on a side street and come back to the neighborhood westbound? Or did he make a huge circle, coming back traveling from the east on Taylor? Doesn't really matter, because there isn't a camera showing it. If there were, it would have been released. That would have been the first thing shown, Kohberger's vehicle driving around in that neighborhood. The Linda Lane surveillance does not verify that it was Kohberger, let alone a white Hyundai Elantra. I believe that surveillance footage was used to create the alleged path, which has multiple vehicles used in one vehicle's alleged path. What? Let me explain, and this is what my colleague intended on revealing. The 3:29 a.m. time frame of the alleged Kohberger passing 3 times is actually the black vehicle circling Queen Road Apartments for the first 3 times. It was spotted at 3:30 a.m., 3:39 a.m., and 3:57 a.m. Mind you, this is all within the same 3:29 a.m. to 4:20 a.m. time frame. And the most important, there is actual surveillance showing this vehicle, unlike the alleged Kohberger. Then, when it claims Kohberger returned for the 4th time at 4:04 a.m., this is the black vehicle circling Queen Road Apartments at 4:07 a.m. Right before that, the white vehicle alleged to be Kohberger was spotted at 4:05 a.m. I believe this vehicle is more than likely the same unmarked cruiser from earlier. Interesting. Let's see. If this black vehicle was driven by Bonnie, who was driving a black Toyota Corolla in her arrest, could we suggest that a call was made to that unmarked cruiser to come to the home? If Bonnie stays on Ridge Road, which is close enough to the victim's home, and she is a drug pusher in town, surely she has connections with the police department. Some claim her father was a big fish when it came to drug trafficking. So when something goes down, with officers on the payroll, pretty sure Bonnie has one of the crooked officers in her contacts. Calls them up, informs them about the murders, which was drug-related, and they quickly got there. And this would be before sunrise. Quote, "It's okay, I'm here to help you," could be fabricated. But it could be something Dylan actually heard, but not from who was depicted as saying it. It was an officer, telling Dylan, "It's okay, I'm here to help you." Meaning, we're gonna clean your name, and sweep this under the rug. After the quote, deliberating, the officer leaves, Bonnie leaves, and the rest is self-explanatory. Bonnie and Clyde come back later that morning, to make sure Dylan will corroborate with the narrative. Once again, if Dot's claims are true, this means Dylan was associated with Bonnie and Clyde. And that, my friends, puts her in a very sticky corner. The prosecution can't use her testimony, because she will be literally skinned alive on the witness stand by the defense. I'll tell you this, the only way Dylan testifies, is Kohberger would be found innocent, and the truth comes out. She would have to testify at that point, because the search for truth would take center stage. The prosecution is also frightened by Bethany's testimony, this is why it was quickly quashed. The truth will come out, my friends, no matter what tactics are used. But back to the camera, because this is also key. The surveillance footage facing the intersection shows literally every vehicle passing by. The clerk knew which direction the vehicle went, because the camera would see it. And since it's a light bulb at night, you definitely would know which way it went. Yet, she lied about this, because the time in which that vehicle was spotted was at 3:45 a.m. There was a white Hyundai Elantra traveling near the home, but it wasn't Kohberger. And this is why the neighbor's camera hasn't been publicly released. A screenshot was given, to justify a 1:56 a.m. time of Kaylee and Madison returning back home. And they didn't even prove that in the screenshot. A lot of fuckery going on. The white Hyundai Elantra is more than likely from Elm Street. That's where all of the housemates' sorority houses are. We know someone called a sorority sister, and that would be Alpha Phi and Pi Phi. The quickest way back to Elm Street is on the highway. But, on heading back in that direction, guess what's near those sororities? Moscow Police Department. It's becoming more evident that Moscow PD knew about those murders hours earlier Sunday morning. Then again, maybe a select few knew, such as the crooked officers. They would be notified by personal phone calls, not through emergency dispatch. And slowly creep up to the home, making sure none of the culprits left anything behind in the home. Leaves the body cam on the passenger seat, and approaches the scene of the crime as a conspirator, not, I repeat, not, a police officer of the law. Where are these theories coming from, you ask? From what has been reported in this case, that's where. Let's review. The clerk lied about not knowing which direction the vehicle went, because the time of 3:45 a.m. means the murders would have happened earlier, which contradicts the alleged timeline of Koberger's path, which ends approximately around 4:20 a.m. in that area. Simply put, she lied, because the vehicle spotted that grabbed national headlines is a vehicle heading in the opposite direction of the target.
And of course, if we would observe the vehicle turning right on Troy Road, we all would question where would the alleged killer be going, if he hadn't killed the housemates yet, based on reports. Remember, there were several housemates awake after this 3:45 a.m. timeframe. Dylan had awakened around 4 a.m., based on her so-called accounts. Kaylee was also awake, and we would assume Madison was as well. They claim Xena was awake around 4 a.m., on TikTok and waiting for her DoorDash. Yet if they were awake, better yet, still alive, then where is the alleged killer heading at 3:45 a.m.? Let's examine the map, and see which Hyundai Elantra is more likely spotted in that surveillance. As you see, the path from White Avenue to Troy Road leads north, to Highway 95. Now there is a path to the home from the highway, as you see. But why wouldn't the alleged Koberger just head down Steiner Road? If Koberger exited on Valenta Drive, in which he traveled to White Avenue, surely he took Steiner Road, then hopped on Highway 8, made a left on Blaine Street, and then made another left onto White Avenue, right? He would just go straight through the intersection back down Steiner, heading back to the home. If he was allegedly speeding back to the home, he would just go straight down Steiner, not traveling north on Highway 95. Now we mentioned there was a traffic camera on Highway 95, right? Here it is. This traffic camera would spot the alleged Koberger making a left onto the westbound of Highway 95. No footage of this, which would be minutes later after the time of 3:45 a.m. If Koberger traveled this way, then he would have to make a right onto Taylor Avenue. And there is another gas station, yep. The A&W restaurant is combined with a food mart that has a gas station. Now if Koberger traveled this way, where is the surveillance from that food mart? A screenshot even? No mention of this food mart having any footage of a white Hyundai Elantra being spotted. Reports claim that the vehicle appeared to be heading out of town. But this would be at 3:45 a.m. Appear to be translates to the vehicle made a right onto the highway. But the clerk claims she didn't know which direction the vehicle headed. Translation: we can't acknowledge that the vehicle appears to be heading out of town, making a right on Highway 95, around 3:45 a.m., which contradicts the time of death. So, we essentially have no camera in the front of the gas station, because we don't know whether. This is ridiculous. Without any evidence of Koberger being shown on Highway 95's traffic camera, nor the food mart surveillance on Taylor Road, we come to the conclusion the white Hyundai Elantra spotted did not turn once it reached that intersection of Highway 95. And what does this mean? Well, it kept traveling on Highway 95, till it reached West 6th Street. Made a left at the intersection, and guess where it ends up? That's right, Elm Street. The Elm Street Hyundai Elantra is the vehicle spotted in that surveillance. Otherwise, if it were in fact Koberger's white Hyundai Elantra, the surveillance would have been publicly shown from that gas station. It wouldn't matter if the vehicle took a longer path back to the home, if it were his vehicle, as he was also spotted by 95's traffic camera, all of this would have been shown, and the killer has been caught red-handed, at least by surveillance cameras. But the vehicle spotted kept going down 95, as it didn't turn on Taylor. They are not stupid, of course, they know Taylor leads back to the victim's home. Observing the traffic camera, they noticed a white Hyundai Elantra speeding down the highway. And guess what? There are cameras freaking everywhere at the intersection of 95 and 6th Street. Also, if you head down West 6th Street, you reach another intersection that has traffic cameras. At the intersection of West 6th and Deacon, there are traffic cameras. West 6th Street leads to Elm Street, my friends. I'm betting, if we could hypothetically get our hands on that traffic camera footage from the night of the murders around 3:50 a.m. at this intersection, you would see a white Hyundai Elantra making a left onto West 6th Street. Ironically, the report claims Koberger's cell phone comes back online at 4:48 a.m. and pings at Blaine Street, near Highway 95. I guess they want us to believe Koberger had traveled on Blaine Street leaving Moscow, right? But that doesn't make sense, my friends. Claiming his cell phone pings at Blaine Street, they are suggesting that he traveled on that road. Why wouldn't Koberger just take Highway 95 and put the pedal to the metal out of Moscow? Why would he drive an unnecessary route out of town? The reason the Elm Street Elantra would be traveling near the highway? I believe they went to the police department after witnessing those deceased housemates. We have to keep in mind, the Elm Street Elantra has to be owned by either a fraternity brother or a sorority sister. And the police department is like 2 minutes away from Elm Street. Word spread quickly in that area, as the surviving housemates had contacted their Pi Phi sisters. So, it's more logical that they went to that home soon after. This alleged path, that has Koberger exiting Valenta Drive, is bogus. Those individuals who went to the police department told them everything, including which path they took upon leaving that home. They stated, "We drove down Valenta." And then this information, about a white Hyundai Elantra driving on Valenta, was used to frame Koberger, claiming he drove down Valenta. Like mentioned, Jack's warning to the girls has never been factored into this investigation. The mainstream media tiptoed around it, even clipping out the portion of Jack warning the girls. They know it was deeper than some lone killer, but to execute damage control, they eliminated that troubling evidence out of the case. Furthermore, Moscow PD apparently never inquired about what Jack was talking about. We focus on the oddities, because it leads to the truth. Imagine if the authorities had asked Jack about what he meant by quote, "They're gonna get you for that, Maddie." It's a statement that hasn't been officially reported on, and surely hasn't been explained by Jack himself. The public are the ones drawing conclusions from it in context. I guess we are the real detectives then, right? This is the Chaos Sector.